Religion has many victims, and these are the stories of how they survived. Welcome back to The Awakening, you guys. I'm your host, Heather.
And I'm your co-host, Tamara.
And we are so excited to be back with you guys again this week. We have another incredible author that's on our show this week, and her name is Takisha Purcell, and she's the author of the book called Understanding the Truth About God, written in the hearts of men. We are so excited to be able to sit down with her and have this conversation of how her spiritual journey evolved from fundamental Christian beliefs to now being spiritual and walking her own path. So, welcome into the show, Takisha. It's so great to have you here with us today.
Thank you so
Welcome, welcome in. Let me make sure I say that as well. Thank you for being here.
Thank you guys so much for having me today. It's a privilege to be here.
So, Takisha, what was life like for you before 2022 when you describe what is your spiritual awakening?
Life was regular. I grew up in Jamaica and with religion and Christianity and everything. But I have a partner that he and I have been back and forth, for some times in and out of the relationship. And I think 2019 we decided to get back together because at that point we had had a child together before. And I was just trying to, get some help with the child but we had constant arguments all the time and disagreements. He had problems like, losing his job. Sometimes he was on the right, sometimes he was on the wrong, just regular life happening. And I always think that, I was always persistent in my work field, like just keeping it down. And I always, question him, like, in my mind, I thought if only he could, maintain, his job for a while. He loves working, don't get me wrong. He loves to work, but it's just the anger and everything that's happening in life that we really don't understand. And with that, I was like really concerned about like, what's gonna happen. Like, but financially life wasn't good either. I'm a home health aide by day job. And but life was, happening. But I started thinking, I need to go back to church because as a little girl, I was, threatened that, if you don't serve God when you're strong and healthy, God might refuse you when you get sick. So,
Yes.
it was always in the back of my mind that I need to do this before I get older. So I think I went out and I bought some clothes and I went to church one Sunday and it was nice. It's my neighbor, he lives beside us, he has a church. So we went to visit for the first time, living here for maybe 6 years or something. And I decided, I'm going to visit a couple of Sunday and start to get close back to God and stuff. So one day I was, on my phone scrolling and I saw this video that I should watch these 3 movies if you want a spiritual awakening. Because I was like always into manifestation. I made a vision board in 2019. I think I accomplished everything on the vision board at this point. Um, and I was very interested in watching these movies, but I only remember one of the movies by the time I got to it. And the movie was Lucy. And later I found out that the movie is on Netflix, but I went straight to YouTube and I bought the movie. I didn't check anywhere else to see that I have it on my, my thing for free already. And I watched it. I didn't quite get anything from it quite substantial that would make me like, oh. But after the movie finished, there was this documentary that came up immediately. And it was like, just watch it. So I started watching it and it was so interested that they were keeping you in the loop and they were telling you about yourself. And I was already in tune like with the secret of deliberate creation and understanding that our thoughts kind of fuel our life in certain ways. So I was very conscious about how I was speaking with in my life and the things I was doing. I was very conscious of certain things. So I was already I think on that journey, I was watching Bob Proctor and those people, Oprah Winfrey in 2019, and I was into vision boards and manifestation, and I was telling God I need a house, and I got the house, and I was like, oh my God, I want a car. I got the car. I wanted to grow closer to God, and it was like, poof, that one hits me because when I watched the documentary, when the documentary finished, it says that we are all gods. And I'm like,
Ooh. That's a hard truth. That's
it
a hard one.
broke something inside of me. I don't know what it was, but that was the spiritual awakening. Poof. And I was overcome with this love and joy and peace, and I was crying. And I was like, what the hell? You mean to tell me that we're all, we're not the God, but we're all an aspect of God? And I'm like,
Yeah.
this is crazy. So I was sobbing, and I was trying to explain what was happening within me to my husband, but he couldn't get it because it wasn't about him. And I was crying, and I went into the kitchen, and I was there, and it's like I had a download. I didn't even know what download was, but that was what came to me. It was like Jesus was not more special than anyone else. It was that he understood who he was. He came into his understanding, his power, higher
Yes.
consciousness, and he gained the ability to heal and do the stuff. And I'm like, what the? Can I curse?
Yes,
I'm like,
absolutely.
what the fuck? You mean to tell me I have the same power that Jesus Christ had? I'm like, oh my God. Crazy. It was so amazing. I could, and that day, I'm telling you, for like 2 weeks, I was like on a high. I'm like, oh yes, I am awakened. It's done. I'm like so renewed. I feel so clean. I have certain understanding. I was there, but all of a sudden, I was start to getting dark downloads. Like I was getting things that I shouldn't have known. I'm like, what is going on? I'm starting to learn things about the world, about the government, about system, about religion. And I'm like, oh God, this is too much. Like, I can't do this. Because I'm like, what am I supposed to do with all this information? And it was like, I'm supposed to go out there and talk about these people that can kill me. I'm not doing that. I'm like, God, I'm not doing that. They can
Yes.
kill me. I have my children. I was crying. I cried all the way from work home because all of a sudden I knew too much. I knew too much. I understand about the brainwash system, how school affects us, how our parents, how trauma works. I was loaded. I was like, no, God, I can't do it because I don't want to die. And I have my children. For a while I was okay, and I was, I still thought that I was awakened, and but I wasn't getting any more insight, and I was starting to pray and talk to God and ask him, like, how does my life change? I know all this now. I don't want to continue to be on the same level of life. I don't want to be a part of the system anymore. And what do I do? And that's when I started, telling God that I was sorry and I was willing to do anything, anything. I said, God, anything you want me to do, I'm willing. I am here and you can use me. And things just started happening. I'm telling you that things started happening where we don't even understand. We don't have a clue who God is. We don't have a clue. We have been sold a God that is a tyrant.
Yes,
A sky daddy
absolutely.
that sit in the sky and is ready to, kill us at the, the
Yes.
first sight of trouble. He's ready to take us out. And with that, it gives us fear. And even as children, when I was a little girl, maybe about 5 years old, I was talking to one of my older cousins, and I was like, I can't do this Christianity thing. I'm just gonna die and call it a day. And she was like, no, 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 that's not how it works. You're gonna go in eternal fire. And ever since that
Yeah.
day, I had this fear of God and being a Christian or whatever. And but God started teaching me. I started praying more and asking God, like, I want to know you for myself. I don't want nobody to tell me about you again. I want to know you for myself. And let me tell you, I was in my bed one morning. I woke up, I opened my eyes, I looked at my partner, and I was like, I'm not going to wake up yet. I'm going to go back to sleep. And I closed my eyes. And the minute I closed my eyes, I was in a vision. I saw, like, I was these trees, long trees, and the green grass, and some beautiful lights gushing through the trees. There were lights like I've never seen these colors before in my life. There were beautiful purples and golds, and it was just shining through the trees. And I was like, what is this? And then I saw this beautiful like hair from the ground coming up, and it was so big and flowing, and I was like, is God a woman? So I was like, there must be a man beside her. So I turned my head and I tried to look, but there was no man beside her. Let me tell you something.
That gave me
Ooh,
goosebumps.
yes.
Let me tell you something. God is a woman.
Let the
And when
matriarchy arise,
what I
baby.
saw, it wasn't like like our ear, but it was alive. It was moving. It was so long. It was coming from the ground up, and it was so wide. And when I turned to see the man, what I saw was like energy. Like, I don't know if they're like, it looks like, you know, energy flowing around and around, and it was like shh, and it was going, and it was like loud, and I was pulled out of the vision. And let me tell you something. It took me 2 days to break down and say, God, I asked who you were and you showed me a part of you. I did not wait for you to show me your face. And I just assumed that there would be a man beside you. I forgive myself because I understand that's the way that we were brought up. That's what we
Yes.
were taught,
Mm.
that God has to be this father figure. And we forget the feminine altogether. And that's why this world is so hard. And that's why we have no love and no peace. That's why, we don't really understand these things. And these are the things that keep us tied to the earth and keep us reincarnating over and over because we don't know ourselves. And when we die not knowing ourselves, we have no choice but to come back here. And that is
Yes.
what God has been teaching me.
And I love this because, so much of our conditioning in Christian spaces is to look out that male figure. And
Yes.
we are so conditioned for that, especially as women. You are conditioned from birth to look for a man to lead you, to teach you, to protect you, when in all reality, 85% of violent crime committed in the United States is committed by men. How
Exactly.
can they lead, teach,
They
and
cannot.
protect if they're the
They,
ones that we need protection from? And when you look at women, they're the healers, they're the protectors, they're the nurturers. They are literally the people that would heal our land. Why would God not be a woman? When we look at the characters and qualities of Jesus Christ, we see that in every single freaking matriarchal woman we know.
yeah,
All of those qualities are present in her. And you
yeah,
know what? She doesn't keep them to herself. And that's the difference between a matriarch and a patriarch. See, patriarchy just builds up and protects themselves, and they don't share with their community. A
No.
matriarch will take what she has learned and she will share it with her children. She will share it with her
yes,
community. She
yes.
will build other people up. And this is why I love the matriarchy, because we're here to make a better society, a better tomorrow. So I love this so much.
I
You know,
know. I was like, this is right down my alley.
the thing about God is she's not possessive. She doesn't need us to worship her. It's not about worshiping. It's not about being strict, wearing a long skirt and being, you can curse, you can be yourself, you can be like a child. You just have to understand who God is and what love is. And what God has taught me is that we're all corrupted. We have all this corruption inside of each and every one of us. And until God comes in, like until you're conscious of it, it's like you are in a loop. I'm telling you that when I was 6 years old, I was in the first grade in Jamaica in school, and I was very scared about school. I was born knowing what was happening in the world. I was afraid of police. I was afraid of certain environments, and I didn't understand that all until now when God showed me all these things to say that, you know these system already. You've been here before. You've done it before. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And it was like I went to school and I was in the line so scared of being, away from my parents. And I was trying to get my lunch, and a little boy run past me. And when he was out of sight, I tried to find my money to get my lunch, and my money was gone. And I was searching all over. I moved everything in the classroom. I tried to look everywhere, and my money was not there. And I didn't eat that day, and that put something inside of me, and I didn't realize what it was. It made me anxious every time I try to do business. I will get scammed, or I will get mad, or I didn't know that, one day God said to me, the little boy didn't, your money did not fail that day. The little boy picked you. He ran and he picked your money. It was like, what? All these years, I thought that the money fell. I did not know that. I'm like, I didn't even know that kids were capable of these things. This is how naive some of us are. And that
Right.
was a loop inside of my life, all my life. And I did not know that until one day I was in the supermarket about to curse someone out. And I was like, this is a pattern.
Yes, yes.
Oh my
And
God.
we actually talked about this with a therapist on our show a few weeks ago. And he says, these patterns, they get embedded into who we are.
And
And
we
they
think
literally, later on, years in life, you can have a reaction and not even know what that reaction stems
Oh,
from, you
listen,
know?
it was the same thing fueling arguments within my relationship, because we don't understand that we all carry these trauma, and we're supposed to heal each other. So you're supposed, oh my God, it's so amazing to me. Like, now, the place I was and where I am now, like these days, I'm like, I don't even argue. Like, I don't, there's no need for it, because I understand that there are a lot of things happening at once within our each person's life, and the
Mhm.
way they behave tells you who they are and what they're suffering from. And when you are
Yes.
in a higher awareness of consciousness, then you know that, why would I waste my energy and my time,
Mhm.
to argue with someone who I know is, in balance, who don't know
Right.
who they are. It's just crazy.
And
And
I
that,
had to, oh, I'm sorry. I was just going to interject really quick. It's like when you were talking about relationships, right? I realized over my lifetime, it's been very difficult for me to maintain in a relationship, right? And I always, it's always, well, it's because of this, or it's because of that, or it's because of this. And with the last relationship I was in, it was like for 14 years, right? And I looked at someone one day, and we were talking, and I said, you know, this lies at my feet. And I must be accountable for the patterns I continuously repeat, because I refuse to change the patterns that I've just been accustomed to my whole life, because it's been easy. You get stuck, and the honeymoon wears off, and you just get stuck in life. You just go about doing what you're doing, and yet you never change those patterns, and then you realize that those patterns didn't work for you in the first relationship and they didn't work for you in the second. And when you're going into the third, I had to take accountability, and it was really uncomfortable to say, I must change the patterns if I want a different outcome.
yes,
Yes.
it's
And sometimes we can be, unaware too of the patterns that we continue to
Totally.
repeat because, if we are raised in a patriarchal system, some of
Mhm.
those patterns are embedded into us. And what
Yeah.
is normal to us and feels comfortable might not always be what's best for us. And we will
Oh,
seek those things out unknowingly because
Yep.
that is what's comfortable. And part of, deconstruction is breaking away from those patterns and acknowledging what they are and then doing the work to heal them so you don't keep eating your own vomit because that's what you're doing. You're returning to it every single time.
oh, dear Lord, I didn't think it was going to go there with me.
So, the thing about life is, before we were born, we have, family patterns also.
Mhm.
So there are
Yes.
things
Yep.
that comes down in our bloodline. And there are
Generational
also
trauma.
Yes, and there are also things that we pick up as kids because we were
Hmm.
taught to behave a certain way. This is how you behave to be loved. This is how you behave to be appreciated. And
Yes.
with that, we have these masks. We are all wearing masks in the world. Let me tell you, we have
Hmm.
several masks. Sometimes we wear masks for different people. So it depends who you're dealing with. You have a mask for that person, and that's how we work it out. But
Yes.
in a relationship, it's like you're coming in with your trauma, he's coming in with his trauma, and you don't know, how to navigate the relationship because people have dangerous things within them. I'm telling you, like dangerous things, and God has allowed me to feel some of those things, and like envy is one of them. It's very
Yeah.
terrible. It's the nasty thing. And some of us have those spirits. Everything is a spirit. The spirit of stealing, the spirit of cheating, the spirit of everything is a spirit. But we don't understand these things. We think, oh, this is me and this is who I am because this is who I've always been. But we don't understand that the way that we were cultured, these are the things that are embedded in us. But our true nature is of God, and everything of God is good. And when you start to heal yourself and understand these things, and you start to bleed, because I've been, let me tell you, I've been throwing up for like 2 years now, just vomiting, like every time, like when my trauma comes up or anything, I started to puke, and I didn't understand it before. Like I didn't know what was happening to me while this was going on. I had to be going into nature, taking off my shoes, grounding myself, because my mom and my dad used to fight when I was like 3, 4, 5, 6 years old, all through my life, and all of that was inside of me. These are the things that run our lives. You understand me? And when
Yes.
we get a relationship, we think, okay, this is normal and this is how it's supposed to be. We're supposed to argue, or we're supposed to be like this, or you're supposed to be perfect. You know what I'm saying? Because what they teach us about a marriage is, perfect. Like we come in and it's love and it's
Yes.
all dandy and nice, and it doesn't work like that.
No.
God do not put two perfect people together. It will never happen. And if
No.
you think if you think you are perfect with your man, you're pretending, you're hiding a part of you. He doesn't really know who you are. So the
Yep.
thing about it, we're supposed to grow and learn each other. And the woman is there to guide the man, really. You understand? The woman is able to reach to the heavens and to pray and to, see the things that are coming inside of the relationship to break it down. Because, we try to fight each other, but we don't understand that we're supposed to be fighting against the spirit in each other, but not each other, because we're all good people. But we're all infected with these things that we don't know what it is. We don't even know that we have a problem because we think it's the norm for us to be like this, for us to be defensive or angry, or, just, oh, this is the way things is supposed to be. I go to the supermarket, I'm supposed to get, what I want first serve. And, I'm not supposed to
Yeah.
have no obstacles. And these are the patterns that run our lives and make, that's the reason why we can't reach God.
Hmm.
Yes. So tell us about your book and what led you to creating it.
Oh wow. So all these experience I was having, I was talking to God, and like, how does my life change? I wanted to do a YouTube channel, but it's like the dedication, to do these things. Sometimes it's not on you, because it's like, okay, so you have to sit there and you have to wait for maybe 5, 6, 10 years for all these things to happen. So it's like I was just going through the awakening and know that I am being changed for a reason, and I didn't know what it was until one day, the voice in my head said, "Now you write the book." So that's what I did, and that's that's just plain and straight. I don't know what's coming next, but I know that I have this gift of healing now, that I understand that someone came to my house, and they were using the bathroom one day, and in my mind I was like, it's kind of smelly for in the house, and I'm like, wow, maybe that should be outside, just laughing within myself. And God started speaking to me, and she said, it's not normal for anyone body to smell like that. And I'm like, what? And she said, yeah, it's not normal. Nobody should be smelling like that. It doesn't matter if they're pooping or not. And I'm like, God, what should I do? And she said, you remember, because through my awakening, she had taught me to use salt and to purify my yard and stuff like that. And she said I should use the salt with some water, pray over it, and give her to drink. So I did that. And while I was doing that, she showed me her ankle that it was swollen and it was dark, and she said it was painful. She couldn't put it on the bed to how painful it was. So I just whispered to myself and I said, God, what am I supposed to do? And he said, get a lime, pour some of the salt on it, and rub her feet just the same. And I did it, and the spot was gone. Everything was healed. The smell was gone. The next day when I came home from work, she ran out the house and she was like, Keisha, look at my foot. And I'm like, what? And I was like, I felt so good because, I knew in myself that, God told me that we had these gifts, but I didn't, I was even in a class trying to figure out how could I get this gift to go, and God started putting things in me like nobody can put gifts in you, nobody can activate any gift in you but God, you know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
it was like, you know even with my husband, there was a lot of things going on with him, and I had to like be clear in his energy. Like I even got to feel the density within his body, to see that there were like spirit running his life, because there there's so much miracle that happened in my life, and that's what led me to wrote this book, because I didn't know that one day my husband was arguing with me, and I was just talking to God now, and I'm like, God, why am I with this man? I'm like, it doesn't make sense. Like I've been in and out of relationship for way less than this. Why do I keep staying? And God was like, you're here for his purpose. I'm like, what? I was in the shower. Believe me, I was going to work. And I went in the shower because I was outside. I was looking in the sky and I was talking to God and I was asking, why am I still in this relationship? So by the time I get to the shower and I was still asking the question, and the voice said, you're here for his purpose. And I'm like, what? So I'm like, so what about my purpose? And
On purpose, right?
what about my purpose? And the voice went silent for a while and came back, and he was like, okay, with a little annoying. You could say you're here for his purpose and he's here for yours. And I'm like, oh my God. So since that day, that's how I really started to paying attention more to what was happening. And he, as I said, he was having all these issues in his life. And I didn't know that all of this was like connected to curses, and oh my God, it was like crazy. I When I was about 16 years old, I saw this man in Jamaica just passing, going about his business. And I remember in my head, I said, he looks like husband material. That was it. And I remember, like a few years later, I saw him again. He was in an accident where he had hit someone and broken their legs. And another time I saw him, he and another girl was in an argument. And I remember that in May, he had an accident again. And I took him to the hospital. And I remember he said to me, this seems like a pattern. And I'm like, I didn't pay any attention to it. But we went to the hospital and we came back, and you know, I said to him, I want to pray with you. And he was like, he went outside and he came back and he said, okay, you can pray, but I'm tired. I'm going to lie down and you could pray. And we had this pull out mattress on the ground, and he lie on the mattress, and I went and I knelt in front of him, and I said, God, I don't know what I'm doing. And I looked at him and he was asleep. I couldn't believe it. But I'm like, you know what? Let me just do my thing. So I said, God, I don't really know what I'm doing, but you tell me that I have the power within me. And whatever he needs tonight, I just want you to do it for him. And I started praying and talking to God, say, do whatever you need to do for him. And I remember the voice in my head just tell me to just like pull things out of his body and do these things and brush him down. And, and I kept on doing it until I became tired. And I said, okay, he was already sleeping. So I went to bed. But the next morning, I was at work, and I was talking to my boss about the hospital visit, and some things happened with the doctor that was really ridiculous. And I remember like I was just telling him like, what if I had told them that she seems to be on drugs or something, because she was saying some crap and I figure out she was on drugs. But then the voice started talking to me and said, yes, Keisha, but what if you had said it and she lost her job? And I'm like, oh my God, it was like so crazy. And I'm like, it's like I'm reading people now and I don't even know that I'm reading them. So my partner called me on the phone and said that, his mom just called him, but while she called, another cousin was crying in the background, said that her father passed. And the voice in my head said, Keisha, why did the same night you prayed over your husband, this man pass? And I'm like, shut up, Keisha, you chat too much. You know, I'm like, that's like, why? Like, where did that come from? I'm like, so anyway, I'm listening to him and he's saying that, he was mad about it because he didn't hear from his mom in a while. And, the minute she called, that's what happened. And he was like, oh, so he called me back again and said another cousin called to confirm that, yes, the grand uncle did die. He passed in his sleep overnight. They don't know when. But I was there and he started telling me how the cousin was complaining that the granduncle was a wicked person. And I was like, oh my God, here we go again. I'm like, you guys need to forgive. You need to just, let it. And the voice in my head said, Keisha, just listen. And I'm like, the phone was on the table. My hairphone was in my ears. And I was like tuning into the phone, even though and he started talking, and the voice in my head said, Keisha, why did you know this man in his pain before you even know his name? And I'm like,
Oh.
what? Remember, I told you that I was seeing this man before I even knew who he was in an accident. He was cursing with someone else. And God was asking me the question now, why did you know this man in his pain? So, listen, over the course of this relationship, this man had so many accidents and problems. And remember, I tell you about losing his jobs, just a lot of things just happening within his life. And I did not know that I was someone who could connect the dots, read things, see things, know things, break things. And God showed me that day. So I came home and I called his family. I called his two sisters and his mom, and I tried to ask them, like, how long has he been having, these problems and accidents and stuff? But only one of them answered, and I was like, maybe it's for a good reason, because I think the other two are more religious and whatever. So the other one was telling me everything, and I'm like, wow. So he woke up at night and I was on the phone with the sister still, and the same cousin called, and we were on this four-way call and we were talking, and God started revealing to me that as a kid, this same man, grandkid, had a bike that he was riding so carelessly, and the grandfather told the mother that if you want to save his life, you need to take this bike from it because it's going to kill him. So he spoke these words over the bike or whatever, and then the bike was given to my partner as a kid.
Wow. Oh,
So
wow.
they transfer all that energy to him that was causing all these problems in his life. And let me tell you, I said, God, what am I supposed to do? And God said, go outside and break the bottle. I was drinking something. And I remember that my eyes were like on the bottle before the voice said anything. So my eyes were like, and then the voice said, go break the bottle. So I took the bottle outside and I broke it. And then I went back inside and we were talking again. I started getting more download. It was like the grand uncle had used my partner's energy to live off, to extend his own life. And that night when I prayed over him, it was broken, and that's why he passed in his sleep. And God was revealing all these things, telling me that he was gonna be, how he died and what happened and how it worked when people do stuff like that. And believe me, like days after, when family members started telling us what happened, it was the same thing that God revealed to me. So it was like,
Wow.
So interesting.
it's crazy. And
Yeah.
yes, yes.
Now,
And
your book, is it more about your personal story, or is it more about teaching a spiritual framework?
it's a little of everything.
Okay.
A little of everything in there. It's about my own journey, what I understand, and it's about God, what God, how God system work, how slavery and things like that, is stopping us from having spiritual understanding. So it's a little of everything in there. and it's about the healing gift that we all have. But it's like we have to get to a place where we have healed from our traumas, because it's like the energy of God can't flow through our body unless all these negative energies out of our aura. And it's just, it's amazing, but it's a wonderful journey, and I'm so happy and excited about it, because even though I don't have the money yet, because that's the only thing, and they have promised me a good life. God has promised me a good life, just, and then I'm like, I'll do the work. I just want to be comforted. I don't want to struggle. That's
Yeah.
the only thing. I don't care about material things or anything like that, because I know that you come here naked and that's how you're gonna leave here. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but while I'm here, I don't want to struggle anymore. I'm tired of struggling. Yeah.
So, you talk about discovering a deeper understanding of God beyond traditional teachings. So, what do you feel that traditional religion gets wrong about the divine?
I think they have everything right. Everything wrong. I think, and I don't want to be bad about the Bible, because there are truths in the Bible, but we really don't understand the Bible. The Bible is encoded, and it was made by people who are in dark things, right? So that's why they gave us religion, because they wanted to enslave our minds and they wanted to keep us small,
Yes.
and that's the whole thing about it. So if you want to know God, you have to step outside of that, and
Yes.
if you want to achieve anything, substantial, because the devil can give you wealth, the devil can give you good things too. But if you want anything that is going to be substantial, and where people can really see, like, God, yeah, that's God, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
You have to do it the right way. You have to step beyond that. So
Hmm.
that's just what I understand. And I just can't find myself to say I'm a Christian anymore. Like, even though it's deep, I still follow some of the tradition, because I pray and I sing and I worship my God. But I am not gonna go in a church and sit down and do these crazy things anymore. It's like a cult, and you
Yes.
Yes.
defend all these stupid beliefs that is not, it's not of God.
And literally, like, they give you a prescription on how you're allowed to connect with God. And it's like, I have found that there are 1,000 other ways that I enjoy so much more than sitting in a sanctuary singing Amazing Grace and telling myself what a piece of trash I am while I'm singing it. Like, and
Right?
that's been me. Like, I found that, my path, what works for everybody is, it's not a one size fits all, right? Like, and I've talked about this on this show before, but we are all different people. We don't all like the same style of clothings or the same type of, music. It's the same way with spirituality. What
Yeah.
works for one person may not work for another person. And when you take all those other options off the table, you take away curiosity. You
Yeah.
take away the ability to grow and discover and lean deeper into more of who God is to you?
And that
So,
what God taught me is like, they teach you not to ask questions. And if you don't ask
Hmm.
questions, how are
yep,
you going to learn? How are you going to know anything? But that's the
exactly.
way they want you. They want you to be blind. They want you to be small. And they
Yep.
want
Hmm.
you to follow rules that don't make any sense. And that's what God taught me. Like, if you are to become somebody, you have to move beyond those understanding. And a lot of us are tied to these religions that are, it's crazy. And sometimes I look back and I'm like, how the hell did I believe any of that?
Yes,
Like that,
yes.
like it's like so crazy to me now. Even like the same person that came to my home, and God healed that person through me, heavy on religion. And she was like, oh, she want to have a prayer meeting one morning, and I'm like, okay. And she pulled out the Bible and she was reading from the Bible. And oh my God, I don't know where she got that passage, and I can't remember what it was, but it was saying, I think it was something about Israel, and God gave them authority over nation, and they could put
Yeah.
their foot in other nations' neck. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? And I'm like, and it was like God
I love her.
allowed her to pick. Because I'm like, I said to her when she
Yeah.
was done, because I was about to stop her, and I'm like, you know what? Let her done. And I said to her, where did you get this part to read? And she was like, I don't even know. I'm like, you heard what you read? Did you hear that? But it's like, I realized that their mind has some kind of cloud over it, because even
Yes.
you try to explain certain things to them, it's like they don't even want to go there. It's
Oh,
like,
yep.
again, it's like a crime. And I'm like, your
Right.
curiosity, what is it to use your mind? Like, if I said Jesus and Mary Magdalene might have been in a fucking relationship, what the hell is that to you? Like, how is that gonna kill you or corrupt your spirit? It's me saying it. You didn't say
Yes.
it. My
Yes.
mind works
Takisha,
like.
just a minute. I don't mean to interject here, but every time I go to like look at a question to answer, you have already answered that question right before I start to answer it, but start to ask it. Because the next question was, many people leave organized religions entirely when they begin questioning. You took a different route and explored spirituality in a new way. What kept you connected to the idea of a God? It's like every question you're like, I have the
Yes.
questions here, and you're answering them before we even ask them.
Definitely, definitely. So yeah, God is really, and that what, because there was time in my childhood. Listen, I was abandoned. My mom left when I was like 7 years old, and I did not know that all of that was living inside of me. I thought me and my mom was good because she left, and she and my dad used to fight, and I was happy at one point because I'm like, no, they won't fight anymore, you know. And but I didn't know that I had all that anger in me. I was meditating one morning, and it was like, the person said, what came up? And it was like I was screaming at my mom, like, she's wicked. She left us. She was this, she was that. She knew she wasn't coming back. And God, the cartoon started playing in the background. Don't be a bully. And I'm like, God, it's all these things that happen to me that is like, it's crazy, but we have all these things embedded inside of us and we don't even know it's there, and it's what's running our life. And until we get curious, until we try to know God and know ourselves, that's the two most important thing on this earth: know thyself and know God. And
Yes.
once you do that, let me tell you something, sky is the limit. Let me tell you, one of my most miraculous stories. So that night, after I found out about the curse on my husband and everything, we stayed up all night because we were sometimes we agree, sometimes we disagree. And I was just standing there. It was morning now, and I didn't sleep. And I said to him, you know what? God told me I'm here for your purpose, and I don't care anything that you have to say. I'm just going to live by that. But it seems like there is something behind the scene changing what I'm saying, or they're changing what you are hearing. But I know we're not on the same level. And I went to bed. 2 minutes after 7, I put my phone down on the dresser and I went in the bed and I tried to get comfortable. As I closed my eyes, I started seeing like this person was like in and out of my vision. And I was like very curious because remember, I'm having all these miraculous things happen to me. So I'm not afraid and I'm really engaging. And I'm like, okay. All of a sudden, I was out of my bed by the speed of light. Out of, oh my God. Every time I go up, I would stop and I would look. It's dark, but I can see like beams or things just standing off in the dark. And I went up. I heard a vibration, like a sound, like it was my name. At first it was like just a vibration, and I was curious and I was like, what is that? That all of a sudden it was like my name being shouted, Keisha, Key. When I looked down, it was like billions of light. And that's what we look like. That's what we look like out of these skin. And I was seeing like they were flying beneath me, and I heard my mom's voice and she was calling and laughing. And I was like, that's my mom. And I remember the voice in my head say, yes, Keisha, that's her higher self. Her higher self loves you and appreciates you. And oh my God, it was so amazing. Like the experience that you have when you are in tune with the real, the true living
Yes.
God, not the fake one. We are able to visit the heavens. We're able
Yes.
to do things. We're able to cure sickness. We're able to do miraculous things. We are not small. And that's what we don't understand, how big we are to God. You know what I'm saying? And these are the things that God wants me to express to the world. That if you are just curious enough to find out who God is for you, and not who culture, school, or church, or parents or grandparents who didn't know one goddamn thing told you, you need to
I
find
love that.
yourself.
And that is so true because so much of religion is just to keep us small, to
It
keep us
is.
conditioned, to keep us
It is.
disconnected from ourself, from our power, from knowing how
Knowing.
powerful we really are and how much of an ability we have to truly change things in
Mm.
the environment around us.
And that's why they do all these things, to make sure that we don't wake up. They create all these catastrophe, all these, things going on, multiple things, wars happening. These are things are not real, because you have to understand that there's a war for our mind and our attention, and
Yes.
you have to find thyself, and you have to take away yourself from these things. You have to stop paying attention to the things that they want you to pay attention to, because the only way to find God, you have to go within yourself. God is not outside. That's the biggest trick they played
Is
on
the
us. They tell
biggest
us that
lie is that
God
you
is
have
out
to look
there, right?
outside. Yes,
But
because
God has always been
yes,
here.
here all the whole time. And it's like, the whole time you're outsourcing your power to something else that you can't see, that you can't feel, you can't touch, you can't taste, all that stuff, when inside of you is everything you've ever needed. And
Every
I swear to goodness, kids would be so different. The
Oh my
world would be so different if they were raised up to know that
if
that
you
power is already in them.
imagine if you were born and told that you are a God. You
Yeah.
are a God. You have the power to do this. You can astral project. You can visit the heaven. You can sit with God. You can sit with angels. You can do so much things. If you were told that when you were born, there would be no need for police. There would be no need for government. And
Yep.
that's the reason why they create all these crimes. They are using mind control on people. Like, they're getting people to create crime so that they can keep us weak and wounded, and depending on them. That's what they do. Like, they're the problems and they're the solutions. And when you understand that, that's the only time you can be free from them.
Exactly. And we have said this a lot within deconstruction spaces, but there's nothing like somebody convincing you that you're broken. So
Yes.
the God that says you're broken can save you from the
It
brokenness that he put in you to begin with. Like, that whole thing doesn't make any
doesn't
sense. Like, that is,
doesn't make
but
sense.
you don't
I'm
see it until you have that awakening and you're on the outside and you can think about it more critically. And like you said in the beginning, like, you're taught not to ask any questions about any of this. We're
I
taught to
remember
just blindly trust in it all.
I remember, saying to my friend one day, like, I said to God, I said, God, if you're my father, because that's what they taught us, if you're my father, and why can't I ask you questions? I'm like, I should be able to ask questions. And
Yeah.
I said, you have to forgive me if I need forgiveness, because I'm gonna ask. I need to know, if there was
Yeah.
only two people in the world, where did Adam and where did they go get wife? Well, how did this happen? What happened there? Like, this don't
Yep.
make goddamn sense. And I started asking the question, and that's how God started teaching me. Oh my
Yes.
God, let me tell you.
And I swear, once you start asking those questions, you can't stop. It's like you gotta know more because it's like,
Yeah.
what else was I lied to about? That's the way it was for me. Like, what else did they tell me that wasn't true, you know? And it did leave me down this whole, I would have never thought I'd be sitting here talking to you today, you know? I
Let-
remember my family at first was really scared about just the things I was posting on social media. Like, my mother-in-law had reached out to my husband, like, Michael, you need to be careful about what she's posting on the internet. Have you seen what she's posting? Like, she's in fear of hell here.
yeah.
And that was one thing that never made sense to me because as a parent, I've got children, and there's nothing my kids could never not ask me. And there's nothing that they could do that would ever warrant me torturing and burning them for eternity, right? Like,
Right.
that doesn't make sense. And
Exactly.
I remember when my grandson was born, just I was so mad at first because, that was the first time I held a baby after deconstructing and holding him in absolute perfection of this newborn baby and thinking, how could they ever lie on something so perfect? and say that this is broken, that there's something wrong with him. And that just hit me so hard. Like, this baby will never know that.
Yeah, and
And
Heather, they
that
read
is the
that.
breaking of the cycle.
Yeah, because whenever you have babies inside the church, they read those scriptures that you're born into iniquity, and you're born sinful and shamed and broken, and you're born in sin and iniquity. And I remember now thinking back, I was like, what a scripture to do at a baby dedication.
Yeah,
It's crazy
exactly.
what have been done to children, because just the fact that we grow them up in a system and we send them to the school system and they're
Mm.
indoctrinating them,
Yep.
all of that is like it's just. And we teach them, get a job, and a job is never going to work for us. It's like you are going to be spending your time in misery. Like, we're supposed to be free, we're supposed to do things that we love doing. And God, there's something for all of us to do. God has a job for all of us, but we think, oh, we have to be a part of the system, and that's what,
Yes.
yeah, it keeps us,
And we don't live in a society that curates those individual things that bring people alive, right? Because we do. They're another cog in the wheel. They get thrown into the system and they're just another thing on the conveyor belt, right? And but that's the society that we live in because we live in a patriarchal society. And patriarchy is run by power and control. It's not run by life or, love and equality and justice. It's not a justice centered world. So I've got to ask, as we're starting to wind down here, if somebody is just starting their awakening or deconstruction journey, what kind of advice would you give them?
so I will advise you to start paying attention to your life. Pay attention to the things that are happening within you and around you. It's not by coincidence, it's not by chance. You did not meet anyone by mistake. Get within yourself and start to talk to God. Have a relationship with God. Take your shoes off, go into nature, hug a tree if you can find one, and just ask questions. Simple question. Who am I? Who am I? Where am I from? Why am I here? What am I supposed to be doing in this world? And those questions are gonna, I promise you, they will take you closer to God. It's something you have to be persistent. That's the only thing about God, is you have to be persistent. It can't be something you do when you feel like. When you're alone, just talk, just talk. You don't have to pray, you don't have to be, because I can't pray, and sometimes I'm like, God, why are you giving me this work? Because I'm not a prayer, like, what?
Yeah.
But she taught me, like, it's not about the big words, it's not about the fancy things, it's not about the spirit and the this and that. No, God is not like that. God will move you. You could be in someone present and God want to use you to heal that person. It will happen. It's not something that you have to push or fight about. You know what I'm saying? So just start to pay attention to yourself and just try to know God, because God is loving, God is kind, and God is peaceful, and God wants to be your friend. I'm telling you, she wants to be your friend, and she's not stuck up. Let me tell you, she can be very jovial and say things that you crack you up. Let me tell you, God is very loving, and we
I
just
love when you say God and then you say she, because when you say God and then say she, I find my brain going, it's like glitching a little bit. It's like, oh, I kind of like this God and
I
a she.
do love
But
it.
because I've always thought of him as a male form, right?
I
Whenever you're talking about God, I'm thinking of a guy, and then you're like she, and I'm like,
yes,
yeah.
But when you hear
sometimes
of God as a female, though, for me, when it lands as like the full embodiment. And it's crazy because, I was taught to look for that in men. But
men.
seeing that in women and seeing women elevated to where they should have been all along that's everything,
And that's
like
it.
so
And that's
powerful.
the reason why they had to put women down. It's
Yes.
all a part of the system, because they knew that God was a woman, and if everybody knew that God was a woman, you would automatically be a loving person, because
Yep.
you know but the father figure is this strong, and you must do things this way, and that's what we follow. You know what
Yep.
I'm saying? But if we had known that the softness of God, please, we
Yes.
wouldn't need them. And they need us
Yeah.
more than we need them. And it's not about that. It's not about segregation. It's not about man versus woman. It's about, coming together and loving each other and being,
Yes.
the man have their role and the woman have their role. And that's just, it's not about competition,
Yes, and with the matriarchy, matriarchy seeks to elevate everyone on the same equal level, right? But patriarchy only seeks to elevate men.
Man,
And
yeah,
that's the big difference between the two. And
yeah,
people are always afraid, oh, well, won't a matriarchy be the same as a patriarchy? And no, it wouldn't. Because again, we seek to elevate everyone around us. We
yes,
don't need to just elevate ourselves. We want other people to get there too. And we don't even care if other people surpass us.
Right.
exactly.
That's what makes
Women,
the difference. Like, I'm not in competition with anybody. I want you to succeed. I want you to surpass me. I want you to go further. And you know what? I'm still going to cheer you on. I'm still going
Right.
to learn from you because that's what we're here for, to grow one another and help each other learn. And I love this so much. It's so
and I
beautiful.
have never looked at another person in my life. This has never been something that I've struggled with and said, "Oh, they're doing better than me now, or they're doing this more than me." No, anytime someone does more than what I'm doing, I'm inspired. I'm
Yes.
thrilled. I'm like cheering them on. I'm like, I may not have a lot, but I can be your biggest cheerleader. Go get your dream, you know?
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
with me, like I didn't like school growing up. I'm not a bright kid, and I always encourage people, like, go for it. Like, if you have the education, go to school, do good. Like, but for me, like, I'll tell people, like, I don't want no. I've never wanted a career. I've never wanted to be like, I don't know if it. I don't know, but I guess. And sometimes I talk to God now, and I'm like, you did have plans for me, because why didn't you make me brighter? Like, you were responsible for me, because you should have made me into someone who is able to, get that perfect job. So I guess she had different plans. So
But those plans are going to do amazing things. So don't you ever count yourself out of this race.
And honestly, I would say you're right where you're supposed to be,
Supposed to
Takisha.
be.
So I just want to say thank you for coming and sitting down with us today, sharing your story with us, and talking to us a little bit about your book. I'll be sure to put the link for your book in the show notes for our listeners here. And you guys, as always, if you really enjoyed this episode, please hit that subscribe button because we cannot continue to do this work without all of your support. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us once again and listening to us yammer on about spirituality and deconstruction.
And thank you, Takisha, for being with us today. Audience, definitely like, follow, go support her and purchase her book. And it was just really uplifting to see a different view of deconstructing our childhood and our religious beliefs. So thank you so much for being with us today.
definitely, thank you so much for having me.
If I drown, would you pull me back to you?
Religion has many victims, and these are the stories of how they survived.
The preceding podcast is solely owned by the host or hosts and is distributed by Big Media LLC. Copyright 2026.